27th of April 2011. We live in a far different world to the one in my last video. There have been democratic revolutions throughout the Middle East. I asked for and predicted the democratic revolutions you can see in my last video. There's also been rapid growth in Europe, especially in Germany, and perhaps a two-speed Europe developing, as much as there is a two-speed America between the coastal regions and the central industrial regions, which are running at a slower rate. This is where people are, however, are saviours in the Republican heartland of America. Yet the Federal Reserve system has not changed. Its Fedonomics has not changed. It has persisted. It has continued the same old strategy of naked aggressive nationalism in its economic policy, of trying to inflate the economy by quantitative easing. That's printing money to you and me, and trying to export its inflation out to diminish the value of the dollar in the holdings of European and Chinese banks. Now that's the rationality of Ben Bernanke's policy. The stimulus projects, the public works, nationalisation of the banks, he's done none of this. Only the public works have gone into some way, but yet American infrastructure is still dilapidated and it still has falling bridges. That has not changed since my last video, nearly a year ago. What has changed is the continued growth of the US debt, which was at last count, I believe, $13.4 trillion, and has now been added to by another $1.4 trillion, making nearly $14.8 trillion. That's 93% or more of gross domestic national yearly product for the United States. How is this inflationary policy helping American competitive advantage? Or is it not helping American competitive advantage? That's what this video is going to be about. But let me just digress slightly to say that the holdings of US dollars by Saudi and Bin Laden crime families will have been increased by the printing of more money, and they will thus use those to go to wash their dirty banking, construction, drug and terrorist money through to prosecute their war against the United States. This is the insanity of the Federal Reserve policy, that they are giving money to the people who want to kill Americans. But let's talk about the competitive advantage of the policy of the United States vis-a-vis the Federal Reserve policy. Is it helping or is it not helping? Well, exporting inflation to the European Union is obviously counterproductive because, one, the euro is backed by gold, which means that the euro currency will increase in value. Thus, this may in the short term harm European exports to the United States, which means that also not only do Americans not get good Daimler-Benz or Mercedes-Benz cars, the United States won't be able to import the machine tools from Europe to rebuild its economy. The other point is exporting inflation into Europe through the housing bubbles that were created, and through the petrodollar, which incidentally is what is helping the Bin Ladens get more and more dollars in their bank accounts, and the Saudi Arabians petrodollars in their bank accounts, and also the Chinese, because they have control of Africa's oil supply. The inflation being exported to the European Union is going to harm the primary export market for American industry, for American exports. So although the dollar's value will go down, which will increase the competitiveness of American exports in the short term, Americans won't be able to buy the products on the scale that they need, the component parts to build those uh, vehicles and other quality goods in the long run. So, what will America export? Is America going to go cheap? Is it America going to go sweatshop and destroy its middle class just so it can sell pens to the Chinese who can make them for far cheaper and better? This is insane. This is an insane policy by people who do not understand economics. Other economists have told them this. Niall Ferguson, from his perspective, has told them. Paul Krugman, who believes in the stimulus package, has told them that Greenspan was responsible for the monetary easing that caused the problem. But now Krugman is more interested in the deflationary risk factor, which is dangerous to the US economy. But it's more dangerous to the US economy that it will export its inflation, which is massive, to its competitor markets, but which are also it's the markets for in Europe for American exports and products and financial services. As I said, it's crazy. But do I agree if I was an American citizen with this crazy Federal Reserve system, would I be agreeing with it? Well, I wouldn't be, because it would be eroding my savings. It would be making the gold price go up, and that's fine if I have gold, but what it also does is give more power to gold commodity brokers who are not under the democratic supervision of governments, the university service, or an armed forces, or the intelligence service, which does happen to some degree with the central banks of other countries, not the Federal Reserve. For instance, the ECB is accountable to the European Parliament and the European Commission. The Bank of England, which I should have mentioned that the Fed is versing the Bank of England, which is linked to the ECB and the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, which is the central bank of all central banks, which does all the central banking for central banks themselves. The Fed is exporting their debt to this. Where is that debt going to go? It's going to go into toxic banks, which will then have to be bailed out by the respective governments of foreign countries. It's a recipe for disaster. The Federal Reserve is going to destroy its own economy. That is a given through its monetary policy. It is destroying the labour market, right? People who are in a weak economy can be chucked out of unions. So that's not going to help social democracy in America. And it's not going to help social democracy in Europe if we have a double dip recession. Is it just that the Fed just likes helping feudalist crime families like the Bin Ladens and Saudis? I mean, what other reason is there left to support their policies? They're not socialists. They're not capitalists. This is mercantile feudalism. You know. This is denying imports to their own country and exporting and trying to export their way and print their way out of inflation without having an industrial base. Their policies are destroying the industrial base of America. They may destroy the industrial base of the Western world, and they have to be stopped. What is certain is that Europe is much stronger than it was during the financial crisis, and I hope that the ECB, with its target rate of 2%, and the Bank of England with its target rate of 4% at the moment, inflation, really do shake America up and get the American government on side, which I think they are doing, and really end the Fed.